Okay, Laurel TV, I have 6 o'clock. Do you have 6 o'clock?
I believe you're good to go, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the 599th meeting of the City of Laurel Planning Commission. This meeting is being held virtually and the notice and information has been public on the website, on the city website, as well as on the digital signage throughout the city. We do not have anyone from the public signed up this evening to speak on the items. However, when I open up the public hearing, I will call for any comments if there is anyone that wishing to speak. With that being said, Ms. Quillen, could we start with the roll call?
Councilmember Sidnor.
Here.
Mr. Wilson. Mr. Kish.
Here.
Mr. Welford. Mr. Welford.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Bonner.
Here.
Mr. Grant.
Here.
Yes, here. Thank you. Chairwoman Bettman.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 2, the approval of the minutes from the May 9th, 2023 meeting. Each of the commissioners has received a copy of this electronically or in print if requested. Are there any questions for staff? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the minutes from Tuesday, May 9th, 2023 meeting. John Kish.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I will second.
Thank you, Ms. Bonner. Ms. Quillen, if you will please call the roll.
Mr. Kish.
Yes.
Ms. Bonner.
Yes.
Mr. Welford.
Yes.
Mr. Grant.
Yes.
I think you would abstain. Were you at the last meeting?
Nope.
Okay.
Abstain.
Thank you. Chairwoman Bettman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 3, the amended site and landscape plan and resolution number 22-03-PC 311 Compton Avenue, filed by Mike Collins, Legends Group. Included in this agenda is a public hearing on the application and final action by the Planning Commission. I'll turn this over to staff.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is Emily Klein-Gibson with the Department of Economic and Community Development presenting the staff report. Final site and landscape application number SLP 2023-0022 was filed on August 15th, 2022 by Legends Group to construct a 2,400 square foot building and 2,767 square foot parking lot on a 10,125 square foot vacant lot located at 311 Compton Avenue. The proposed building will be the new location of an existing daycare facility located across the street at 308 Compton Avenue. The applicant is also seeking approval for a parking reduction for the daycare facility. The applicant is requesting to reduce the parking requirement from 22 spaces to 14. The proposed daycare facility building has a proposed capacity of 89 children and 15 staff, 11 of which will be on the premise at one time. Final capacities will be determined by the Department of Fire Marshal and Permit Services during the permitting process. The building meets all setback, green space, and lot coverage requirements as stated in the Unified Land Development Code. The lot is zoned CG and is surrounded by CG zoning on all sides. For the parking lot, the applicant proposes to construct a lot located in the front of the building. The lot will consist of 7 standard parking spaces, 1 compact space, and 1 ADA space, for a total of 9 on-site parking spaces. An adjacent property located at 307 Compton Avenue will provide 5 shared parking spaces for the proposed daycare facility to use. For the parking modification, the applicant is seeking a departure from the number of parking spaces required and has provided a response to the required findings for this departure, as stated in section 20-16.6G of the ULDC. The applicant proposes to reduce the number of parking spaces from 22 to 14, stating that the current daycare facility, which has been operating at 308 Compton Avenue for over 20 years, has less parking spaces than what would currently be required and has not had parking issues due to a combination of public transportation and the general needs of the business. 14 parking spaces would be a direct increase based on the original use and occupancy parking approved for 308 Compton Avenue instead of the current parking requirements for daycare facilities stated in section 20-16.5 of the ULDC. Under date of March 30th, 2023, a site plan and cover letter asking for comments were sent to state and local agencies, and a memorandum was sent to City of Laurel departments. A revised site plan was sent to the Department of Public Works under date of May 22, 2023. Comments from local, state, and City of Laurel departments are stated in the staff report. The daycare will have a 3,375 square foot play area located behind the building that, based on proposed capacities, meets the requirements of comment number 2B provided by the Department of the Fire Marshal and Permit Services. Under date of May 23rd, 2023, a letter explaining the nature of the application and advising of the scheduled hearings before the City of Laurel Planning Commission were sent by standard mail to all contiguous property owners. Staff recommends that the City of Laurel Planning Commission approve final site and landscape plan application SLP 2023-0022 and resolution number 22-03-PC for 311 Compton Avenue with a parking modification and with the following conditions. Number 1, the applicant shall obtain appropriate City of Laurel permits prior to construction of the new building. 2, the applicant is responsible for any damages that may occur within the public right-of-way. And 3, the applicant shall comply with all applicable local, state, and federal laws and regulations in the development of the property. This concludes the reading of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Brooke, can you confirm, am I on fine? I'm gonna get rid of my iPad.
Madam Chair, we can see you on your main computer now.
There, I apologize for my technical difficulties. Now I am on computer and can see everyone. I have a question, Ms. Klein Gibson, thank you for the report. And it may have been in some of the information. When the facility moves across the street, is the license for the childcare facility moving with it, or is there remaining a facility on both sides of the street then?
The facility will relocate. It will just move to the new building, and the old building will not continue to be a daycare.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kish, any questions for staff?
None at this point.
Ms. Bonner,
No, I do not.
Mr. Welford?
Yes, please. I have just a couple to
Sure.
clear some things up what I'm thinking. Will the parking lot have just one point of entry and exit, or will there be two as like a half circle in front where you pull in one way and pull out, continuing around?
The parking lot located on the property, it's just a lot, so you have to pull in and pull out. It's not a loop.
Okay,
It's
so
just spaces.
see, so those cars, I mean, I'm familiar with the area and the way the traffic patterns and the congestion at drop off and pickup time is on that narrow Compton Avenue. I mean, I pulled in there a lot of times, and even the way it's set up right now, it's kind of congested through there with parking on both sides of the street and all of that. So I'm just, I'm trying to picture when someone pulls up to drop a child off, either a parent or guardian, do they simply drop the child off, or do they bring the child inside the building?
Mr.
Can I
Wilford,
answer
I tell you what, why don't, Billy, let's hold that question. That's an excellent question. I believe we have the applicant, but let's first exhaust any questions for staff regarding the staff report and that, and let's have your question answered by the applicant.
Okay.
Thank you very
Right, I
much.
jumped ahead.
No problem at all. Any other questions? Mr. Grant, do you have any questions of staff regarding the report?
No.
Thank you. Councilmember Sidnor.
No, Madam Chairwoman, no question.
Thank you. Included in this application is a public hearing. I would like to open the public hearing at 6:11 p.m. and I would like to call on the applicant. If they could please address Mr. Welford's question, and if you have anything else that you would like to add.
Okay. Can you hear me? I
Yes,
apologize.
we can. I'm sorry. Could you please state your name and address first? Thank you.
My name is Danita Hill. I'm at 228 Patuxent Road, Laurel, Maryland.
Oh.
20707. Am I the correct applicant?
You are. You're later in the agenda. Thank you, Ms. Hill. We are
Okay.
currently talking about Compton Avenue, but thank you. We will come to you.
Thank you.
No, hi, I'm Tracy Cowan.
Thank you, Tracy.
How are you? I'm 311 Compton Avenue.
Okay. Did
Madam
you-
Chair, this is Mike Collins.
Thank you, Mike. Would either of you please address Mr. Welford's question about the parking ingress and egress, and whether is someone outside to receive children, or do parents come and park and enter the facility?
Mike, would you
Well, I
like?
can answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start. Let's start. Right now, Mr. Wilford, the design at the existing daycare across the street, you pull in and you have to back out into Compton Avenue. The new parking layout, where you pull in, but you back out and turn and come out to Compton Avenue, so you won't be backing into traffic. If you see if you look at it, they're on the side. They have enough room, 24 feet, to back out and be able to turn and come out head first, instead of right now they go in and they have to back out, and that's problem that the city's noticed. So that's why we redesigned it this way.
Mr. Welford, do you understand that?
So-
Your point,
so,
the current
so Mr.
process. Go ahead, Bill.
So, so Mr. Collins, you're saying there's a designated space for backing into, so when you pull in and you're ready to leave, rather than back out onto the street, there's a designated area to back into and make like a 3-point turn and then come back out on the street?
Correct. There's 24 feet between the back of each parking space. So you can back out, turn, where you don't have to, where it's a lot easier than it is right now, backing out, and somebody coming and they don't see you. But with this way, you'll be able to come out forward instead of back at reverse coming out of the parking lot.
Okay. And my other part to that is when a child is brought there, do they simply be let out of the car and the child comes in by himself, or does the parent or guardian have to bring that child inside the facility?
The
Tracy,
child. Yeah, sure. Hi, thank you for the question. With the parent and the child are met at the door, and then the child is received by a staff person.
Okay, I see. So, so like, for example, if somebody is coming down Compton Avenue from 4th Street towards Route 1, and would they be pulling off to the right as a parallel park on Compton and then bring the child across the street, or will everybody have to pull into the lot for drop off?
It's a combination, and drop off and pickup is open-ended because children arrive at different times and parents pull in and they pick up at different times. So it just depends on the time of day and the amount of parents that are dropping off at the time.
Right. I think what I'm seeing is a final pickup at closing time, like around 6 o'clock when I turn off of Route 1 to go up Compton. I'm usually hitting it at, it must be closing time because it seems like everybody's there to pick up, and there's up to 7 or 8 cars. I mean, it's pretty tight through there. I'm just thinking about the child safety. I know that over at St. Mary's School, the drop off and pickup there has really became a problem to the point of having to have people out in the street and guiding and lining up for their pickup and stuff like that. It's there's a lot to it rather than just a free for all pickup and drop off.
Yeah, and I understand your question, but our children are from 6 weeks old to 5 generally. So they're a lot younger. And so the parent has to meet the staff at the door in order to sign them in and to come into the facility. They're not, yeah, they're young children.
So I guess what I would like to see, and of course this isn't a requirement by any means, but I would like to see some type of crosswalk, a lot of signage, you know, children in the area. There's a lot of signage that Public Works could probably do, and they could probably even do some type of a high visibility crosswalk, and maybe even some light, because I know you're going to have children coming out at 6, and in the winter time it's going to be pitch dark out there by 6 o'clock. So my suggestion would be a high visibility crosswalk, high visibility signs, and some real good lighting out there. It's just a suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Welford. And Ms. Klein Gibson, if you could make a note of Mr. Welford's comments so that if Ms. Cowan or Mike Collins, same thing with you. I mean, Bill's got some good points. I mean, the city certainly could put up, you know, either children at play or, you know, enforcing the, you know, the speed sign or something to help Ms. Cowan. But the things that he's recommended would be, other than child at play, I think you could probably put that, or, you know, children or something. But if you would at least mention that to Parks and Recs or DPW or whoever to see if there's a possibility for that. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Collins or Ms. Cowan, is there anything else that you would like to say?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Is there, I would like to pause for about 15 seconds just to see, is there anyone on the call from the public that is wishing to speak on this on this application? Hearing no one, I will close the public hearing at 6:18. And if there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that the approve the amended landscape plan.
Mr. Welford, I believe you're cutting in and out, but I did hear, if everyone else agrees, I did hear him say he was making an motion to approve the amended site and landscape plan and resolution. And I will add for the record number 22-03-PC 311 Compton Avenue, filed by Mike Collins, Legends Group. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kish. Ms. Quillen, if you would call the roll.
Mr. Welford, Mr. Welford,
Who's our motion maker?
I do see him on the call.
I don't either.
yeah,
Bill, are you back? So, Mr. Kish, are you
I'm
able
I'm
to?
back on now.
Thank you. And Ms. Quillen just called for your vote, please.
thank you. Mr. Kish,
Yes.
Miss Bonner,
Yes.
Mr. Grant,
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 4, the amended site and landscape plan and resolution number 22-10-PC for 307 Compton Avenue, filed by Mike Collins, Legend Group. Included in this application is a public hearing and final action by the commission. I'll turn it over to staff for a report.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This is Emily Klein Gibson with ECD presenting the staff report. Amended Site and Landscape Plan Application Number SLP 2023-0133 was filed on May 16th, 2023 by Legends Group to expand the existing parking lot located at 307 Compton Avenue from 6 to 15 spaces, including 1 ADA parking space. The property is located on a 10,125 square foot lot with a 1,850 square foot office building also located on the lot. The applicant is proposing to expand the existing parking lot to provide sufficient parking for the office building on the property, as well as provide 5 shared parking spaces for a proposed daycare facility located on a property to the left. In addition to the existing parking lot, the applicant will construct new pavement on the property, which will be located in the front and left side yards, as well as a new parking lot located behind the existing. The proposed parking spaces consist of 4 standard spaces, 4 compact spaces, 6 parallel spaces, and 1 ADA space. The total area of new pavement will be 1,797 square feet, which would bring the total area of new and existing pavement to 6,022 square feet. Section 20-7.11 of the Unified Land Development Code states that a CG zone must have at least 10% green space, and the applicant proposes having 26.5% green space. Under date of May 17th, 2023, a site plan and cover letter asking for comments were sent to state and local agencies, and a memorandum was sent to the City of Laurel departments. Comments from local, state, and City of Laurel departments are stated in the staff report. The applicant reached out to the Department of Public Works regarding their comment on grading and concluded that grading on the property is nearly level. The Department of Public Works wishes to remove the grading comment from the report as it has been resolved. Under date of May 23rd, 2023, a letter explaining the nature of the application and advising of the scheduled hearings before the City of Laurel Planning Commission was sent by standard mail to all contiguous property owners. Staff recommends the City of Laurel Planning Commission approve the amended site and landscape plan application SLP 2023-0133 and resolution number 22-10-PC for 307 Compton Avenue with the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall obtain all appropriate City of Laurel permits for completion of this project. And 2, the applicant shall comply with all applicable local, state, and federal laws and regulations in the development of the property. This concludes the reading of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Klein Gibson. Just one comment. We normally receive any responses from homeowners or contiguous property owners. Were there any received?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Mr. Kish?
None. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Ms. Bonner?
No.
Mr. Welford?
No, thank you.
Mr. Grant?
None, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. And Councilman Sidnor?
No questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I will open the public hearing at 6:24 on the amended site and landscape plan and resolution for 307 Compton Avenue. At this point, we do not have anyone from the public signed up. We do have the applicant available. Mr. Collins, did you want to speak or just answer questions if there are any?
No, most of it on my property is existing. I am going to add those 5 parking spaces, and I do have a loop that they'll be able to drive in and come around and drop children off on the 5 spaces and walk into their daycare center.
Thank you very much. Hearing no one else wishing to speak, I will close the public hearing at 6:25 p.m. If there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion on this application.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the amended site landscape plan and resolution number 22-10-PC for 307 Compton Avenue, filed by Mike Collins, Legends Group.
Thank you, Mr. Welford. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, I will second that.
Thank you, Mr. Kish. Ms. Quillen, if you will please call the roll.
Mr. Welford,
Yes.
Mr. Kish,
Yes.
Mr. Grant,
Yes.
Ms. Bonner,
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 5, the final record plat application number 939 and resolution number 22-08-PC for 7222 and 7302 Contee Road, filed by U.S. Homes LLC. Included in this agenda item is a public hearing on the application and final action by the Planning Commission. We'll now have the staff report.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commission members. The applicant is seeking a final record plat of subdivision approval to create parcels for the development of the 63-unit townhouse community, previously known as the Janoski property, but now known as Anderson's Green. There will be 3 plats that must be recorded with Prince George's County Department of Land Records. According to the Unified Land Development Code, Section 20-30.3, final plat must be recorded within 180 days of the Planning Commission's approval. This is the final application before Planning Commission for this project at this time. Staff recommends that the City of Laurel Planning Commission approve final record plat of subdivision for the development of the Anderson's Green project with the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall have the record plat recorded among Prince George's County land records within 180 days after approval. And 2, any modifications to the final record plat of subdivision shall require new final record plat application approval by the City of Laurel Planning Commission. Thank you, and the applicant's team is on the call if you have any questions.
Thank you. Did the applicant wish to present or just to answer questions? I'm sorry.
Madam Chairwoman, Bob DiPietro on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you.
We'd be happy to answer any questions. This is combining the 2 pieces owned by the Janoski family, and now will be considered developing by U.S. Homes LLC, and be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. I just had a quick question, just in terms of the naming. I see that there are two roads listed as alley. Is there a significance to that? Are those not drive-through roads? Do you know what I'm? Do the houses front, like for post office purposes, are the homes addresses going to be on like Drennan Alley or Aaron Rose Alley, or will they be on the roads? That makes sense?
No, yeah, no, Madam Chair, they'll be on the roads. They won't be on the alley.
Okay. Mr. Kish, do you have any questions for the applicant or staff?
None, thank you.
Ms. Bonner?
None.
Mr. Welford?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Grant,
No questions, Madam Chair.
and Councilman Sidnor.
Just one question, just confirmation again. I know we already is in the record, but just say it for the record again. How many townhouses gonna be approved for this project?
This will be
63.
63. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone on the call wishing to speak on this agenda item? Hearing no one, I will close the public hearing at 6:30. Oops, I don't know that I even opened it, but we will consider it that I will officially open it now and ask the question just one more time. Is there anyone wishing to speak during this public hearing on this agenda item for 7222 and 7302 Contee Road? Hearing no one, I will close the public hearing. And if there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the final record plat application number 939 and resolution number 22-08-PC for 7222 and 7302 Contee Road, filed by US Homes LLC.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, I second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Ms. Quillen, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Welford,
Yes.
Mr. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Kish,
Yes.
Ms. Bonner,
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 6, special exception application number 940 for 228 Patuxent Road, filed by Peace on Patuxent for recommendation to the Board of Appeals.
Can't hear you.
So I wasn't muted, I'm sorry. For agenda item 6, the staff report, please.
You're muted, Monta.
We're not hearing the staff report. Robert?
Yes, Madam Chair, I believe he's trying to get audio. He's visible right now.
I see him.
I heard him when he first got on, but I don't hear him now.
Monte, I can't hear you. Try again. Can't hear you. Sorry. Madam Chair, is it okay? If we, should we move on to the next one and then come
Let's
back?
move on to the text amendment. Ms. Hill, if you would, thank you for your patience as we've moved through the agenda, and we will come back to you. We definitely will have the application heard this evening. Let's move to agenda item 7, text amendment application number 263, ordinance number 2012. Quote, an ordinance to amend the Unified Land Development Code to include personal, non-medical cannabis as a special exemption use in certain zones within the city for recommendation to the mayor and city council.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and Commission members. Before you is ordinance number 2012, text amendment 263, as required by City of Laurel Code, providing legislation to amend the Laurel City Code, Chapter 20, Land Development Subdivision Regulations, Article 1, Zoning. This is to update the definition section, the use table in the commercial zone, and to update the special exception section, all to include personal non-medical cannabis as a special exception use in certain zones. The proposed changes would add, update various definitions, as well as add and update the commercial use tables and special exception section. These changes are the result of the adoption of House Bill 556 and Senate Bill 516 by the Maryland General Assembly. legalizing recreational cannabis within the state of Maryland. These bills allowed for zoning of dispensaries for recreational cannabis, which we refer to in this legislation as personal non-medical cannabis, to be determined by individual counties and municipalities. Overall, there were 3 sections that were amended in this update. Staff, along with City Solicitor Taub, used the framework set and passed by City Council for medical cannabis dispensaries within Ordinance 1862, which was passed February 2016, in the writing of this legislation. This legislation would permit dispensaries for personal and non-medical cannabis to be permitted subject to the approval of a special exception within the commercial general zone along Washington Boulevard, Baltimore Avenue, and 2nd Street. The legislation would also permit dispensaries in this zone to sell both medical and personal non-medical cannabis, although each type of dispensary would be required to obtain special exception approval, even if located upon the same property. This would also require that a dispensary for either medical or personal non-medical cannabis be located no closer than 1 mile from another cannabis dispensary within the city limits of Laurel, and they shall also be required to be located at least 1,000 feet from a lot line of a public or private school or real property owned by the Prince George's County Board of Education or House of Worship, at least 500 feet from a pre-existing licensed child care center or registered family child care home, and at least 500 feet from a playground, recreation center, library, or public park. It is recommended that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the text amendment number 263, ordinance 2012, to the mayor and city council. Thank you, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Actually, hearing it read out loud, I do have a quick question or recommendation. Maybe it would need to be in the form of a motion, or you can explain why it's used. It says as a special exception use in certain zones, but yet when you talked about it, you said use in commercial general zones. Is there any reason that that is not specific in here?
It should say certain zone. I'm going to blame our attorney on that one.
It just makes it, because it's
Yeah.
like in certain zones. What certain zones? Okay, so it can be in the commercial general zone.
That's in the CG zone's the only zone.
Okay.
Currently. Okay.
Thank you very much. Like I said, I didn't catch it earlier, and then when it was read out loud, it was like, wait a minute, certain zones. Thank you.
Well, he can't defend himself, so yeah, I'll say it.
Thank you. Mr. Kish, any questions?
None.
I'm sorry, Ms. Bonner,
No.
Mr. Welford,
No, thank you.
Mr. Grant.
Yeah, I have a question.
Certainly.
What will be the hours of operation?
Oh, it will be based on when they come in for their special exception. I believe the other one, it really just depends on the place. I believe both dispensaries now stop at I believe maybe 10 or 11, but it really depends on the individual special exception or location. And then the good, anything that comes before, if it's a special exception, will come before Planning Commission. So if there are suggestions on a stop time, we would consider those within each application.
Okay.
Madam
Gotcha.
Chairman, I do have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. And Mr. Kish, go ahead.
Can one applicant have more than one application for different locations for these?
If they can show the different, it depends what the state does. I would have to see what there's a new cannabis commission with the state. I believe they're pretty strict on how many licenses they actually give out, but I believe they will allow for both, like we are, both the non-medical and the medical cannabis in the same location. I'm not sure if they may give them in other territories if they did want to expand. What this does right now is it's kind of, like I said, it's much like the other one. So say if the two dispensaries that are currently within the city apply for the non-medical also, that's according to this, that would be as many as we would be able to have in the city.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Sidnor, any questions?
No questions, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion.
Well, Madam Chair, again, I will move to approve the text amendment application number 263, ordinance number 2012, an ordinance to amend the Unified Land Development Code to include personal non-medical cannabis as a special exception use in certain zones within the city for recommendation to the mayor and the city council.
Mr. Welford, are you okay with the clarification if they change the word certain to
Oh.
commercial general?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Bonner. Ms. Quillen, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Welford,
Yes.
Ms. Bonner,
Yes.
Mr. Kish,
I'll abstain.
Mr. Grant,
I'll abstain.
Chairwoman Bettman.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion carries.
thank you. Mr. Burrow, do we have you?
Monte, were you able to call in? Please, if you could try calling in. We can't hear you. We can go on to the next one. It's good to have a long agenda.
Okay, it's showing that he's on mute, but
I believe his audio with his computer isn't working. He'll have to try to call in.
okay. Thank you. Again, Ms. Hill, thank you for your patience. Moving on to agenda item 8, Forest Conservation Plan and Resolution number 22-09-PC SR 77 Walker Branch Stream Restoration filed by Prince George's County Stormwater Management. Included in this agenda item is a public hearing on the application and final action by the Planning Commission. Mr. Love, I believe this is you.
That is correct. Good evening once again, Madam Chair and Commission members. The applicant is requesting approval of a forest conservation plan associated with the Walker Branch Stream Restoration Project located east of I-95 and west of Dorset Road. This project will restore a section of Walker Branch and generate nutrient and sediment reductions as part of Prince George's County Clean Water Partnership. Natural channel design techniques will be utilized to create a stable stream system that will prevent bank erosion and sustain a natural rifle pool sequence. The restoration project crosses 8 different parcels. For the project, 4.05 acres will be cleared within the project limits, 1.14 acres on city-owned property and 2.91 acres on private property. A total of 4.03 acres will be reforested following construction, which includes 1.22 on the city-owned property and 2.81 acres on the private property. This will be 0.97 acres above the required planting. The applicant is also requesting a waiver to remove 9 specimen trees that have a diameter measured at 4.5 feet above the ground of 30 inches. It is recommended that Planning Commission approve the Forest Conservation Plan. Thank you. And the applicant is on the line to make a little presentation and explain the project.
Thank you very much. Before we do questions for staff, I'd like to turn it over to the applicant, and then we will do questions for staff and the applicant. Welcome to the applicant. If you would please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Sure. My name is Joseph Monheit. I'm with Res. We're at 6958 Aviation Boulevard, Suite C, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061. Just wanted to welcome everyone here. Madam Chairwoman, thank you. Thank you, Robert. Some of the goals of this project, the stream in question has been degrading for quite some time. We've been aware of it for at least 5 years. There's a lot of fallen trees. It's starting to encroach into the private properties along Plantation Court, Scotch Hill, Bayshore Way, and then, of course, the city property, Brookmill Townhomes. The main goal of the project is going to be to protect the existing storm and sewer infrastructure that's running under the channel. Once we bring that up to grade, we'll be connecting the existing outfalls and then kind of stabilizing the channel so that it can get through the stream valley without encroaching on the private properties. All the property owners are aware. We have right of entry agreements with them. We'll also be placing a floodplain easement for maintenance, which the county will take care of for 30 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Just as a point of reference, several years back in front of the Planning Commission, we had the restoration of Bear Branch Creek, which runs directly behind my property from Van Dusen all the way down to Laurel Lakes. And I don't know if it was res, but whoever did it, it was very, very well done. A lot went into it, and the water flows so much nicer now. So if this, if any of the residents that are backing up to this are listening, I can only hope that it goes as smooth, because it has made a big difference here. This
it'll definitely improve the conditions. That wasn't us. I think that was Bourne Environmental that maybe did that project, but we work with them. It'll be very similar.
Like I say, it's a nice improvement to that. Let me quickly go through the commissioners, and then I'll open the public hearing to see if we have anyone that has joined us that would like to speak on this. Mr. Kish.
I have no questions.
Thank you. Ms. Bonner.
No questions. Thank you.
Mr. Welford.
Just out of curiosity, how long does this project go for? How many years?
So we've been in the design and permit process for about a year. We'll be looking to go to construction in the next, 4 or 5 months, and then we'll finish construction in June of 2024, and then we'll maintain the project for 30 years.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grant.
Did you say the county or the state will be picking up the tab?
This is a county project.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Sidnor.
No questions.
Thank you. We do not have anyone from the public signed up. I will open the public hearing at 6:48 and take a pause to see, is there anyone that is on? Do not have anyone acknowledging they want to speak, so I will close the public hearing. And if there are no further questions, we will have final action. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Forest Conservation Plan and Resolution Number 22-09-PC and SR-77 Walker Branch Stream Restoration filed by Prince George's County Stormwater Management.
Thank you, Ms. Bonner. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kish. Ms. Quillen, if you would please call the roll.
Ms. Bonner,
Yes.
Mr. Kish,
Yes.
Mr. Welford,
Yes.
Mr. Grant,
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Mr. Burrow, do we have you?
Monte, I think you have to unmute your phone.
I'll read the agenda item as soon as we know if we have him.
I believe your phone is muted.
Hello?
Hello?
There, we got you. Okay, Monta, okay, pause for just a second.
I do
Moving
so
on.
much apologize.
Okay,
I thank y'all for your.
hold on one second.
Okay.
Agenda item 6, special exception application number 940-228 Patuxent Road, filed by Peace on Patuxent for recommendation, Board of Appeals. Mr. Burrow.
Good evening, Madam Chair and fellow Planning Commission members and council. This is Deputy Director Monte Burrow. Special exception application number 940 was filed on May the 3rd, 2023 by Sunita Hill to establish and operate a nursing home in a residential home. The business, Peace of Patuxent, is proposing to serve and provide respite service for women who are fighting leveling cancer or receiving treatment to the existing building located at 228 Patuxent Road, Laurel, Maryland, 20707. Under the date of May the 10th, 2023, a cover letter, justification letter, and business plan was sent to local and state agencies. And you can see all the comments in the staff report. On June the 2nd, a letter explaining the nature of the application and advising of the scheduled public hearing before the City of Laurel Planning Commission and Board of Appeals was sent by certified mail to all contingency property owners. All receipts were received. Just a note, business requirements. Services will be offered to women 18 years of age and up who have received a diagnosis of cancer, actively receiving treatment, or 2-year post-diagnosis. There are no ethnic, income, or educational requirements to receive these services. Priority preferences will be granted to women who reside in the Baltimore, Washington metropolitan area, as depicted below. Respite state priority preferences. First priority, City of Laurel residents. Second priority, with 25-mile radius residents. Third priority will be the Baltimore, Washington metropolitan area. Program services, respite overnight guests, single bedroom accommodation, permits 1 person per room for a 2-night stay. All accommodations and services are free of charge, except nightly dinner. Guests are responsible for their own dinner. Due to the health sensitivity of our guests, pets are not allowed. Access to mediation garden, access to the mediation library, access to the scheduled activities, transportation to be provided as needed. A full description of the business proposal is included in the staff report. Per the City of Laurel Unified Land Code, Section 2016.5, nursery home, 3 beds per 1 parking space.
Monte, I believe your phone will cut out. Sorry about that, Madam Chair. If you give me 1 second, I can pull up the conditions.
Thank you.
Apologies. Okay. If I will go ahead and complete that. So staff recommends that planning commission recommend approval of the special exception number 940 to the City of Laurel Board of Appeals with the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall obtain a City of Laurel use and occupancy permit. 2, the applicant shall comply with all regulations of the Prince George's County Health Department for protection of the use of the property. 3, the applicant shall submit a refuse plan to the City of Laurel Department of Public Works for review prior to the issuance of the use and occupancy permit. And 4, the applicant shall comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations for the protection and the use of the property. Thank you. Believe you're on mute.
Oh,
I'm
thank
back.
you.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Ms. Hill, this is Chairwoman Bettman. I have a couple questions. I noticed in the fire marshal's comments that you will be required to have sprinklers. Does the house currently have sprinklers, and are you okay with that requirement?
Okay, good afternoon, Madam Chairman. This is Sunita Hill. Do you need me to say my address again?
Please.
I live at 228 Patuxent Road,
Thank
Laurel,
you.
Maryland, 20707. Currently, the house does not have sprinklers, but we are willing to bring it up to code, whatever we need to do to bring it up to code.
Okay, thank you very much. And you're okay with all of the conditions in the report?
Yes, ma'am. I am.
Thank you. I have some other comments that are more for staff, but let me go through commissioners and see if you have specific comments or questions. Mr. Kish.
Yeah, I have a question. Were there any comments from the adjacent homeowners in that area from the registered letters that were sent out?
We did not receive any comments from the adjacent homeowners.
Okay. If this, one other question. If this should be approved in a residential area, does this open this up to more nursing homes in other areas where people would like to place them?
Mr. Kish, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mr. Burrow.
Okay. Any nursing home would have to go through a special exception, and every zone doesn't allow for one. So if it does, it would go through the same process again, where you can approve or disapprove. But per the code, if it's allowed in that district, we cannot really stop it. But you can recommend to the BOA approval or denial.
That's
Okay. Thank you.
That's where I really want to come back to. Ms. Hill has a beautiful package. I think the information contained in it is it looks like it will be a wonderful place. I would like to ask Mr. Love, you and your staff, to please come up with regulations. And I don't know if nursing home is the right term for it, or what, but for example, I certainly would not want in a residential area if Ms. Hills is approved, that the neighbors on either side and across the street all come to us with that. And as Mr. Burrow said, then we can't disapprove it. That's not the intent of residential areas, to have businesses run in them. So again, Ms. Hill has a very specific request that seems to be very conducive to the neighborhood. And Ms. Hill, you picked the perfect word for that because there is no other word other than peace on Patuxent. It is beautiful. That's the right word. But yet I think we've got to get some language as to how many. Again, hers is right now it's a standalone, and I think we can vote on that and everybody has their vote. But I really would like your department to come up with some language that protects residents from multiples of this in the same neighborhood.
Madam Chair, if I can interject for a second. We spent a year with Ms. Hill about this project, and you are correct in your assessment. The thing was, what she's doing is very unique. So what we did as a staff, and we got the closest thing related to what she was doing. And you are correct. We will do our best to find new wording to identify what she's doing, because she can elaborate even more. There's probably no more than 3 or 4 in the whole country what she's exactly doing. So what we did was try to get as close as we could to a use so we can move this project along, because we've been working on this a whole year trying to figure out what terminology we can use to identify her as.
No, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the time that Ms. Hill has given to it, or her patience through this process. And again, my issue isn't how you fit it in, because I think it does fit the use. It, again, what she's got and her numbers, I'm just saying the multiples effect of others. So I will stop on that, because again, it's not specific to hers. I'm just asking to please have staff, as you're saying, come back to us with some language on for future reference. Thank you. Ms. Bonner.
No questions.
Mr. Welford. Mr. Welford? Mr. Grant?
No questions at this time, Madam Chair.
Councilman Sidnor?
Oh, I was muted.
Bill, did you have any questions?
Sorry, Madam Chair, no questions.
I think we're having some technical difficulties here.
I think I was muted. I don't know if my comment came through.
No, it didn't. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I think a big part of this, that this is a nonprofit, and as far as concerns of people coming into neighborhoods and stuff like that, yes, if this was somebody coming in to open a business and to make money, that'd be so different. But this being a nonprofit, I commend the applicant for what she's doing, and I think a lot of people are going to be thankful that it's there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Welford. Yes, I agree. And I do believe we'll see more, maybe not this specific type, but more of this type of thing throughout the city. That's why I'm pressing so hard for Mr. Love's department to come up with something to guide us and residents.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I believe we have heard from anyone. Ms. Hill, is there anything that you want to say that we may have missed? Like I say, it's a great package.
Well, thank you. I think you've commended me, and I accept your accommodations from everyone. But I guess for me, what I have to say is that, as you said, and everyone understands that, and Mr. Burrows said it as well, we don't have anything like this anywhere within our metropolitan area. The nearest one is probably 200 miles away. So we would be one of a kind. I think it promotes not only for the women, but for the caregivers and their family. It brings an economic growth for Laurel, but we're situated uniquely, not Peace on Patuxent, but Peace on Patuxent being within the city of Laurel, just where we're situated, is just a benefit to everyone. So I can just go on and on and on, but I'll stop because you already have commended it. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve special exception application number 4694022 Tucson Road.
Do I have a second, please? Thank you, Ms. Bonner.
I'll second that, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kish. Ms. Quillen.
Ms. Bonner,
Yes.
Mr. Kish,
Yes.
Mr. Welford,
Yes.
Mr. Grant,
Yes.
Chairwoman Bettman.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. And best of luck to you, Ms. Hill, as you go forward. Okay, there is no other agenda items before the commission. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you, Russ.